Right now, obviously, listen, I don't pretend that I'm going to agree with our good conservative leadership on every single issue, but I do want to make sure that you are informed on exactly what is going on. And I had some concerns regarding the regulation, the further regulation of the hemp industry. And to alleviate some of those concerns, we invited one of the Senate sponsors on the show on this bill. The bill sponsor, Senator Richard Briggs. The Senate adopted his bill, which would adopt sweeping new regulations for the state's $250 million hemp industry. That's a lot of money, including new tax rates, age restrictions, penalties, and licensure requirements. To speak on this bill, which passed the legislative process and goes to the governor's desk, we welcome to the show Senator Richard Briggs. Senator, thank you for being on the Matt Murphy Show this afternoon. I hope you're well, sir.
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Just give us a kind of a 25-cent tour over the legislation, exactly what you believe that it will accomplish, the new regulations on the industry.
Well, first of all, I think the question is, why do we need to do something? And quite frankly, it's been the Wild West out there, and there was no regulation, hardly at all. And I would say that 95% of this regulation, I would hope that we could all agree on. And we're putting the infrastructure in place, and it's similar but not quite the same as the way we regulate the alcohol business. In the alcohol business, there's certain places we don't allow you to sell Jack Daniel's whiskey. You can't pick it up at a gas station. You can't pick it up at a convenience store. You can't pick it up at down at any of these, at the grocery store, for instance. Mm-hmm. So it's regulated. And the substances are similar because they're both intoxicating and they both can potentially impair people. A lot of what the bill does is that we limit at where it can be sold. We also do things I hope that we could all agree on also. We said you're not going to be able to sell the THC products. That's the psychoactive component that's in marijuana. You're not going to be able to sell it to people under 21 years old, to avoid children inadvertently thinking that things like gummy bears or some of the infusion drinks that has the THC in it. We say it's got to be labeled very clearly that it is a THC product. You can't put cartoon characters on the gummy bear packages. You need to keep it in the same package that it was originally sold in, so children don't get into it and eat a bunch of them and an overdose and end up in the emergency room. We also have a different way of taxing it. We have ways that when it's in the stores, if it's a store where people under 21 can come in, it needs to be kept behind the counter. And that's a lot. It's a very long bill. It's a 30-page bill, but the majority of the bill deals with what we need to do to protect the public. We say that any product sold to the public has to be analyzed by a certified laboratory, so you know that you're getting exactly the amount of THC in it that's on the package, that it doesn't have contaminants that could be harmful to you, and it's really things like that to a large degree to protect children and also to protect the public, because we have had problems coming into the state where there were contaminants in it. People have gotten very sick from the contaminants. So we're really going to be regulating it very similar to what we do the alcohol industry.
And do you feel comfortable with the new regulations, particularly considering that some other states have very different types of regulatory practices? I mean, obviously, I don't guess there's much that you can do about people going across state lines and purchasing over there. But you feel, is it fairly consistent with some of our fellow states, or do you feel like Tennessee's policies have become a little bit more stringent than some of those?
Really, I don't know what the other states do exactly, but it's the same thing with alcohol. We have what's called a 3-tier system in Tennessee. In some states, you can go to the gas station and buy whiskey,
right?
Or you can buy these, and we don't allow that in Tennessee. But I think it aligns very closely with what we do with alcohol in Tennessee, about we'll still have our cannabis stores, just like for alcohol. You have your packaged liquor stores. You do in a restaurant. You can get a license in a restaurant to have some of the infusion drinks, just like we have liquor by the drink in restaurants with licenses for those. We have a way of taxing alcohol in Tennessee where we call it a 3-tier system, where you have a producer, you have a wholesaler that's really the tax collector and the distributor, and then you have the retail dealer. So we're handling this very similar to the way that we do alcohol.
Can you help me understand the difference between THCA? The bill, it's my understanding, bans THCA beyond 0.1%. Is that right?
Well, it does, and what it really does is that you're taking the amount, and we're following. And now we can set Tennessee law anywhere we want to. We can have no limits on, and THCA, just so everyone knows, THCA is sort of what's used in Tennessee as a code word for marijuana. And if you have the THCA plus the Delta 9, which is the active marijuana, as long as that's less than or equal to 0.3, it's considered to be hemp or a hemp product. If it's greater than 0.3, it's marijuana. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that Tennessee set up. That was originally under the United States Code for that Congress passed for the Controlled Substance Act.
So,
and now we did define that in the bill because there's some states that have legalized recreational marijuana, and we don't have recreational. Well, we do have recreational marijuana in Tennessee right now, but we're going to be regulating that. But THCA is, if you take THCA and it's in the flower of the plant and you smoke it, it's turned into marijuana. If you vape it, it's marijuana. If you crumble it up and put it in a gummy bear, cook it, put it in a cookie, put it in a brownie, it's marijuana. So THCA, for all effective purposes, is marijuana.
Well, right. And so this bill would ban all THCA products beyond 0.1%. Do I have that right, or does it ban them?
It's actually 0.3.
All right. So and it limits.
It's still a very low level.
Right. No. I get it. I'm just trying to understand precisely what the bill does. I mean, some of your colleagues were concerned that this would it redefines what hemp is and what hemp isn't, and that it could impact a very a pretty big industry in the state of Tennessee. Can you just speak to that, Senator?
That's actually not true. Is that what we're using is, again, we're using the federal. What we did, we sent a letter off to the U.S. Department of Justice, and we really wanted to know how the federal government defined it. Now, Tennessee can define it any way they want, but the federal government defines hemp is if your THCA level plus your Delta 9 THC is less than or equal to 3, it's hemp. If that level is above 0.3, it's marijuana. And we use that definition in the bill just so we were clear in Tennessee what was marijuana and what is hemp. So under this bill, what is defined previously from the Tennessee law back in it was the Federal Farm Act in 2018 that made hemp legal, and that's how they defined it, how the federal government defines it. And then in 2019, we passed a Tennessee law that would allow us to have hemp farmers and to sell hemp products such as CBD, and we use we're using the federal definition.
So when your colleagues suggest, and there have been some that are in the industry that have suggested, and I've read a couple of articles about this, that this would redefine and that it was not consistent. You believe that the bill is consistent with federal regulation?
I can forward a letter to anyone that wants to write my office. I'm looking at the letter right here. The letter goes ahead and says the Controlled Substance Act defines THCA as a Schedule 1 drug. A Schedule 1 drug is like heroin, methamphetamines, and some of those. But it goes on to say that the Controlled Substance Act excludes hemp from that definition. And hemp is defined using the delta 9 THC concentration plus what they call the post-decarboxylation level of THCA to be less than 0.3. And the decarboxylation process means that they heat it, because as soon as you heat it even a little bit, you leave it out in the sun, it gets heated. But if you heat it up, to 200 or 300 degrees, then that converts the THCA into marijuana. And you add that to the marijuana that may be in there in a very low level together. And if it exceeds 0.3, it's marijuana.
What is the point of the bill?
The whole point of the bill is to have a regulatory process. The problem
why should it be the government's job to regulate what is a naturally consumable product, is my question.
Well, cocaine is natural. Heroin is natural. Opiates are natural. But the product that we're doing today, I think that's a very good question, by the way. It means, what is a natural product? To give you an example, you may not be old enough to remember, I am. In 1969, there was a concert called Woodstock. And at Woodstock, they arrested a certain number of people, and we have that information from the DEA. The marijuana that they were arresting people for then was, for the most part, 1% and 2% marijuana. The highest they had at Woodstock was 3%. Even as late as 1995 to 2000, the DEA intercepted, this is stuff coming in from Mexico, the illegally grown marijuana in Kentucky, Tennessee, California. And Kentucky, by the way, was one of the top marijuana producers. They tested it, even as recent as the year 2000, in over 35,000 samples that the DEA tested for prosecution. The average THC level was 4%. We walked within 20 minutes of the Capitol last week, and we bought marijuana at a cannabis store in Nashville that the roll was 37%. I also bought gummy bears. Came in a little package with 5 gummy bears that had 1,000 milligrams of marijuana in it, of THC in it.
Right, multiple servings, right?
Well, it was 5 servings, 200 milligrams.
Right.
And in the state,
have you, Senator? Have you ever smoked marijuana or consumed marijuana?
No. I had 38 years in the Army, and I've been tested twice a year since I was 18.
No. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking. I'm just asking the question.
The answer is no.
Okay.
The answer is no.
Do you believe in the medical efficacy of, that use of marijuana, the like CBD oils and that sort of thing? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I think there could be some beneficial amounts. You get back to your question. You asked me about a natural product. The product that's being grown today is not natural. The 40% THC that you can buy, the 1,000 milligrams that you can buy in 5 gummy bears, is not natural. And if you look at what the level is that was smoked that people were getting high on in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and clear up until the 2000s, the stuff that you're buying today is 40 times stronger than what was the natural product being grown back then. And the problem is, I got a letter in this morning from a father whose son had bought a smoke, and he ended up having a psychiatric crisis, spent 6 days in the hospital at Vanderbilt. And he said they're seeing 3 to 5 cases a week where they're admitting people to the hospital having psychotic episodes. And to be honest, I don't think it's the natural marijuana that's 3 or 4%. The problem is the stuff that.
Well, why aren't we just banning it all then? Why aren't we banning it all then?
The marijuana is not legal in Tennessee.
But why aren't we eliminating all of these? Why are we eliminating all of these hemp-based products? Then could be, because they can be abused too, right?
No, well, we're not banning. We still have CBD. CBD is not banned in Tennessee. We have Delta 8. Now that's a good question you ask, because there's already with Delta 8, We have 17 states that have banned Delta 8 completely. Now, we do not ban Delta 8 in Tennessee, but and there's 7 other states.
And we're not, it's my understanding we're not banning Delta 9 either, right?
No, Delta 9 is marijuana.
Oh, I see.
Marijuana, recreational marijuana is not legal in Tennessee.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking the question. So,
what was the question? I'm sorry.
So, do you believe that this puts the state in a place where I guess it's your goal to prevent grown people from the freedom of consuming these types of things of their own volition in the state? You just want to eliminate the ability to do that. You don't want to go, because there's some people that are suggesting that maybe, freedom-minded people and small government-minded people allow grown people to consume what they would want to consume with regard to marijuana.
Here's where we have a fundamental difference. There's
okay.
A couple of issues here. The fundamental difference is if you say we need no regulation, we need that, then you're saying it's okay for kids, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old to go in there and buy a product that's 40 times stronger.
Oh, you're saying, excuse me, sir. You're saying that. I'm not saying that. Don't say that I'm saying that. I'm not saying that. Why would you say that I'm saying that?
Because you said, why are we regulating it?
No. Obviously, nobody's talking about age restriction. Very similar to alcohol. We allow, I said adults, sir. Mm-hmm. I said adults. I said grown people. I didn't say children. Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, you said, why do we regulate?
I said grown people. I said, why wouldn't you allow grown people in a freedom-minded, small government-minded state to allow them to consume those products that they deem acceptable for themselves? Not children. Why would you suggest that? Why would you suggest that I want 8-year-olds to take marijuana, sir?
This is probably a fundamental difference.
Well, that's fine. I just don't like people putting words in my mouth, Senator. I'm sure you don't like that either.
Okay. What it is that we know on Delta 8, and we had this problem in Tennessee, and I'm going to use Delta 8 because I had the Delta 8 bill the year before last. We know that the Delta 8 that was being brought into the state was contaminated with pesticides, herbicides. We know that you have to make Delta 8, you have to use an organic solvent. We knew that I had received a letter from the FDA that there were over 2,000 people that had been admitted to the hospitals because of contaminated Delta 8. We regulated Delta 8 just like we're trying to regulate this, so that adults that are buying the product in Tennessee can be assured that the product that they buy, if it says it's got 15 milligrams of whatever is in it, 15 milligrams of Delta 8, 10 milligrams of Delta 8, it has that in it, and it doesn't have pesticides, it doesn't have organic solvents, toluene is what they use to create it. Now, we do put restrictions on what people can have. You might ask the same question, why do we regulate heroin? Why are we regulating fentanyl? Let adults choose to smoke.
Maybe we should regulate alcohol a little more stringently.
No, we do.
A little more stringently, sir. And the bottom half of that sentence was a little more stringently than we already do.
Yeah. Well, we regulate it pretty strongly right now. If you go to a bar and someone serves you and you're intoxicated and you go out and kill someone, that person that served you will be prosecuted. You cannot, if you go into a liquor store and you're drunk and they sell it to you and you cause harm to the public, that person's going to be prosecuted. We do regulate it. And we don't allow people under a certain age to buy it. We control very much where it comes from. We make sure that if it says that it's 20% alcohol or if it's 20% beer, we're assured that it's that way. You cannot go to the grocery store and buy. You might say, well, adults should be able to buy Jack Daniels and whiskey at the grocery store. They should be able to buy it at the gas station. But we don't allow that because we regulate it.
It doesn't seem to work in terms of DUIs and the amount of people that continue to drink and drive. None of these regulations are seeming to work.
Well, I can tell you this, is that Tennessee has the lowest binge drinking rate in the country.
Really?
And it's been that way for years. You've
been over to Knoxville lately?
I live in Knoxville.
Oh, well, I mean, right. You've been to the campus lately? I mean, I'm
missing the point about the United States, I guess. But I can just tell you.
Listen, Senator.
I know statistics are. I know facts are annoying, but those are the facts. Yeah.
Well, I mean, big government conservatives are annoying too. Senator, thank you for your time. I certainly appreciate your perspective on this. I think you've been clear on it. We can disagree without being disagreeable. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. I certainly.
I just, as a conservative myself, I don't think that that free use of any drug that comes along should be a conservative position. I've dealt too much with the heroin overdoses, the fentanyl overdoses, the cocaine problems, and now this is a problem also, that people are ending up in the hospital that are taking these very, very strong products, and sometimes we have to help people that have these addictions to prevent them from harming themselves, and this is intoxicating, impairing, to keep them from harming themselves or others.
I understand the concept of nanny government, sir. Thank you very much for the conversation today. I do appreciate you. There's Senator Richard Briggs.